I was wondering if you could maybe talk about even, where you were born and that first, 10 years of your journey and what that was like, because most people would be surprised, right?
Yeah, I was actually just making a video today. I'm kind of back getting into YouTube, making videos again, and there was a tag meme we did. It's like 10 things I've never told anybody before, and I was just recalling some stories. I'm like, wow, I was a pretty badass kid. And what I mean by that, I was like a street kid. And I grew up in Russia. That's where I was born.
Where in Russia were you born?
Orenburg, Russia. So it's a fairly small town, probably 500,000 population, near Kazakhstan, Europe-Asia border.
Wow.
And it was just, I guess a regular Soviet, post-Soviet Union background, and not really having a lot. Of course, the biggest thing that I've had in my life was really having a very loving, unconditional mother. But in regards to resources, it's like we're like lower middle class in Russia, which is really poor by Western standards. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment with my other sister. Me and my sister shared a bedroom. My parents slept on a living room pull-out couch. And that's, I think a lot of people who grew up in the Soviet Union grew up that way. So it was fairly normal there. And we immigrated to Canada when I was about 10 years old. And, that's when I would say that chapter of my life started. And that's what I remember most vividly. And
Is that move?
was that move.
What were you doing up until 10? Like just getting in trouble?
Yeah.
And what your friends from back then, like what happened to them? Are they still there in that city?
I think some of them moved. A lot of them, I think, probably stayed. And I'm so grateful for my parents for making that move. So, so much of that, people really don't realize how much opportunity they have when they live in Western society, like here in Europe or in North America. It gives you such a big opportunity when you're in these markets. And for us, when I was growing up, yeah, I was like, parents didn't really, I guess, have time for us, or we were just like free range children. It's not like 7 or 8-year-olds now that are always protected and helicopter parents. For us, I remember, running around like scrap yards and junk yards next to my grandma's house, next to like railroad tracks, and even today I was recalling like picking up like cigarette butts when I was like 8, 9 years old, smoking and things like that, like buying beers like 8, 9 years old. Like this is like real, like some of these street Russian kids. And somehow I end up here. So I'm really grateful for that. And then we immigrated and a whole new life started. But also that wasn't easy because any immigration, especially, I don't know how our parents make these moves when they've never been to a country and they commit and they just sell everything they have. And I always say the story. It's funny being here, like living in London as a Russian in Chelsea. There's a lot of stereotype that you probably come from money or dad is an oligarch. But that's not my background at all. I'm not those kind of Russians, So it's really the type of, parents just selling everything they have, moving.
Why did they move?
The true story is my mom's brother, because my mom had a very troubled childhood with her parents, and it was probably violent and things like that, and she had 2 other siblings, and one of her brothers became a criminal. Like he was in jail and alcoholic, probably drug user, all that stuff. And he was really upset at her that her life actually turned out really well. Like he said, even though, like I said, we're lower middle class, but she had a good family. She had 2 kids. She had a family. We had birthday parties. We were living still a great, decent life, and her life was great. Well, for him, it didn't turn out that way, and because a lot of it is because his dad used to, beat him and abuse him in other ways, and that's why I think a lot of times when people, when they grow up and they start getting into criminal activity, it's just because they're just abused in some way, and they're just showing it one form or another in an external world. And she just, at one time he came from jail, and I think I remember that's probably like my early childhood traumas. He just came like banging on the door and just like threatening, like I'm gonna kill everyone and stuff like that. So it was just, and my mom was scared.
Okay.
So she was just like, I need to, and then when he went to jail again, and it's like, if he gets out, he's like, if I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna he threatened to kill her basically and the family.
Wow.
So she took it seriously, and she's like, I need to get out of here. And then at that point, she got so lucky. One of her friends came to our city, because he already moved to Canada, to actually try to get his sister to immigrate. And he brought all the paperwork for her. And she's like, I'm staying here. I'm patriotic. I'm not leaving my country. And my mom just got lucky that she knew this guy. He's like, hey, do you want these forms to immigrate to Canada? And she's like, yeah. It just she was thinking, how do I get out of this place? And just came to the right place, and she convinced my dad, and there we go. And then we're moved.
That changes your whole life.
That changes my whole life, and I'm so grateful. So in a way, these challenges turn out to be such huge, massive opportunities. And I'm so grateful in a way for my uncle who wanted to kill our family. If you look back, it actually turned out to be for the best. Because if everything was comfortable, and maybe if she didn't get threatened, I wouldn't be here.
So taking gratitude to the next level.
Oh, but that's how I think. I'm always, in a way, I'm programmed this way now, to just always look at the glass half full and just looking how amazing life is. And then we just immigrated to Canada, and like I said, it was difficult. And my parents divorced within a year, and there was my mom in a new country with no language, single mother, 2 kids, working night shifts, factory jobs, and there I go again. I get to be independent on my own as a street kid in a way, but now in Canada.